Hi, friend. I wanted to let you know that enrollment is now open for the fall 2026 semester of the Accountability Club. Over the next 5 months, we'll be tackling kids organization, time management, kitchen organization and meal planning, laundry systems and good habits, bedroom decluttering, and holiday planning, all with coaching, accountability, and support along the way so you're not doing it by yourself. Join before July 1st and save $50 with early bird pricing. Enrollment closes for new members on July 12th and won't reopen again until January 2027, so don't procrastinate. The link to enroll is in the podcast description below. And now on to today's episode. Welcome to the Habits and Home Show. This is episode 237. I'm your host, Lisa Lazat, and I help Christian ADHD women clear out the clutter in their homes and get clarity over their systems so they can finally walk in the peace God has promised them. If you love Jesus but feel disorganized and overwhelmed, you have come to the right place. Let me say a quick prayer over you. Father, thank you for bringing us together today. I wish I could be in her presence right now and enjoy a cup of tea with her. I pray that you would give each of us the wisdom to discern what is truly helpful from what is simply just popular. Please help us to guard our hearts from comparison and from the pressure to constantly chase the next new thing that we see. Help us to be content, to be confident, and to be faithful with the homes that you have entrusted us with. May the words shared today always and forever honor you and encourage everyone who is listening. In the name of Jesus, amen. All right, friends, before we dive into our episode and our topic today, I want to encourage you to take some action. And I know that a lot of you do because you tell me that you enjoy listening to podcasts and you enjoy listening to this show, and it prompts you to take action in your home. And I get it. It's better to work alongside somebody instead of by yourself, and it just keeps you going. So I want you to take some action in your home, whatever that might be. Maybe you're resetting your kitchen at night, which I encourage you to do. Maybe you are making your meal plan for the next week, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I hope that you feel accomplished by the end of this episode. So we're going to talk about the pitfalls or some of the pitfalls of following fads and trends and how we can have confidence in our own home management. I like to take many extended breaks from social media. When I first started this podcast, I started it in the pursuit of finding a way to do my organizing business, to coach people, to connect with people. And that was the year of 2020 when the world was shut down and nobody was connecting. And so I started this podcast as a means to do that, but then also to not depend on social media for my marketing. And this podcast is marketing my coaching opportunities. And after having great success with having the podcast, I've been able to get away from social media. It created a lot of anxiety for me, a lot of comparison in the year 2020, TikTok became popular, and then Instagram Reels and just the short form content. It just felt so overwhelming. I was not able to connect with friends. We were all connecting with other people out in the world by just watching. We were just viewers and an audience to what other people were doing in their lives. And I really longed for friendship, for connection, for in-person friendship. And so I started this path of figuring out a way to do business and not be on social media and to connect with people in real life as well. So that being said, I started creating some social media boundaries. But every once in a while, I like to get on and I like to look at the accounts that I either learn from or that inspire me. Everything else I have deleted, blocked, really cleaned up my feeds, and I am really protective of what I bring in through my eyes. However, I do fall into the rut of doom scrolling, and I came across several reels. Maybe it was my algorithm and things that I liked, which I do like old vintage things. I love a slow living life. I love nostalgia. You could tell what my social media algorithm feed would look like. So that went from farmhouse living and farmhouse lifestyle, which I do live in a farmhouse, a 75-year-old farmhouse. And it went from that to now the current trend is 70s lifestyle, which I love. I love 70s, 80s, and 90s. It's like the golden years, I personally think. And it wasn't just one account, it was multiple accounts of this 70s, before the 2000s lifestyle, and it's now trendy. And it was just, 10, 15 years ago, the trend was a very minimalist, sleek, no color lifestyle. And now we're going back to where it's very full, and we have knickknacks, and we have things on the walls, and we have things all over the kitchen counters. And it just kind of felt like whiplash. I mean, yeah, I can get on board with that because I didn't live in the 70s. I was born in the 80s, grew up in the wonderful 90s, and then graduated high school in the early 2000s. And that feels really good for me. However, it felt like whiplash. And it only felt like whiplash because I was very intentional and very aware of it. Most people, they just hop on a trend or hop on a fad because it makes them feel a certain way. And then they go out and start acquiring things that match that feeling. They want to replicate that feeling not only on their phone and what they're seeing, they want to have it in their real life, in their home. So that got me thinking, wow, it's like being like a ship being tossed to and fro, just like it says in James, where he talks about a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So imagine we're heading down a certain path. I mean, yes, it is okay to change direction. However, with trends and fads, it makes you feel like you're not enough, or what you're doing is not enough, or what you have is not good enough, or it's not making you happy. And we, my friend, have to be very, very cautious and protective of that mental space for ourselves. We have to not just jump on a bandwagon, because had you not been exposed to that, you were going along, living really, really well. And all of a sudden, we have a new trend, and you're not, you've been exposed to that trend. It made you feel a certain way. Not that anybody's putting pressure on you to change or that your stuff is now outdated. You just want to recreate, or you want more of that feeling. Those endorphins that are created when we see things that we like on social media, we want more of that drug. And so what we do is we start comparing ourselves, we start comparing our homes. It starts to creep in little by little. And trust me, it is not bad. It is not bad if that is what you want to do. If you want to change with the trends and keep up and, change your decor every once in a while, that is completely up to you. I'm speaking mainly to my friends who are like me, who get caught up in that emotional feeling of we've been exposed to, and now it's not that we feel this pressure to recreate it. It just kind of creeps in, right? And I'm a person where I love to go antiquing. I love to go thrifting. I love finding old things. So this is already naturally a part of my life. However, my home is completely fine just the way it is. And I think for me, it also helped for me to go on a mission trip to a third world country. I went to Guatemala and I've done mission work there, and I've gone to Cuba, and I have seen people utilize their homes in a way that just showed so much gratitude and thanksgiving for what they have. It was very meager and very just humble and simple, and they used it to the maximum. They welcomed people in, welcomed guests into their home. And maybe, I don't know, I don't speak fluent Spanish, but maybe they too struggle with comparison in some way. Maybe they too are changing their decor. But what I saw and what I was exposed to really changed my perspective on life, and how we need to discipline ourselves to be content with what we have and to be confident in our identity and what we prefer outside of influence. And that really takes some maturity and getting to know yourself, what your preferences are. And sometimes it leads you back to childhood. Now, maybe your childhood wasn't very nostalgic. Maybe you want to forget a lot of your upbringing. I was raised in a home that there was some trauma. My dad was an alcoholic, and both my parents passed when I was 29, which was 13 years ago. And yes, there was some trauma in my home. However, as children, we create this resilience of it's still childhood. It's still this, we build this nostalgia. So sometimes it leads you back to your childhood, what you want to have in your current home. So that might mean leading you back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s naturally. However, we need to do that outside of influence. And I spoke on this on the last podcast. It is okay to go into someone else's home, which is what you are doing when you look at social media and what people share. You are essentially visiting their home, looking around, making a comparison to your home, and then coming back, and you either feel neutral, you feel inspired, or you feel like you're missing out on something and you need to compete, or you need to have some things in your home to give you that same feeling that you got when you visited your friend's home. And so I really want you to be mindful and aware more than anything. Mindful and aware. I want you to slow down. Before you purchase things, before you hop on a trend, before you change something in your home, I want you to wait. I want you to wait it out. I want you to create your wish list. This is something that I've talked about years ago on the podcast. I like to challenge God. And I'm sorry, I don't try to make everything spiritual, but this is what I say to myself. I'm challenging God that I've made this wish list, just like you as a child would make a Christmas wish list for your parents. It's a very natural or normal thing to do, to whatever you as a child displayed towards your parents, to also now to display towards God. So I create this mental running wish list, and I always say, okay, I'm going to wait, and I'm going to let God bless me and bring it into my life somehow. And it's not really like the law of attraction or anything like that. It's just kind of like I recognize it as blessings, and as my Father is blessing me and giving me gifts, like I would want to give my child a gift when they're not whiny or they're asking for it all the time. I just kind of like, oh, that would be nice to have. And then time after time, I could just list so many occasions where something specific just shows up at a thrift store. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so cool. So one time I went to a thrift store and I stumbled across a walking pad under my desk. My desk raises up, and sometimes I'm working long hours at my computer, whatever I'm working on, and I want to walk. I want to get my steps in and get exercise. And so I just kind of like put it out there, my wish list. Oh, I would really like to have a walking pad. I didn't really think about trends or fads or anything like that. I just thought, okay, this is how I would utilize it. This is how it would add to my life. This is how it would benefit me. And just like, we do to our children, does it make sense to add that thing to our children's life? Will it benefit them in some way? Will they be able to handle it? Will they be able to manage it? And so I think that's what God sometimes does with me. Maybe He does it with you as well. And I came to a thrift store, and not one, but two. I found 2 walking pads, and it was one at one store, one at another store. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is not a coincidence. This is really cool. I hope you're kind of getting inspired to start protecting your eyes, start protecting what you see, start feeling confident in what you have in your home, the decor. And if you want to make a change, just enjoy the process. It doesn't have to be fast. When we bought this farmhouse, we moved into it from our RV. We had a converted bus, Greyhound bus, that we lived in for a year and a half because we stepped down from ministry and we didn't know where we wanted to live permanently. And we were like, okay, we can buy an RV and we can live in that and we can just take our time. And we found this house, and it needed lots of fixing up, and because we had downsized, we didn't have anything. And so I just took my time putting things on the walls and filling it up, and I just really spoke to myself the confidence that it's okay to take your time. And even just now, we are in our 8th year of living here, and we have done so much to this house. And I thought, well, maybe I'll do in 10 years an update, do a before and after update of what it looked like when we bought it and what it looks like now. And a lot of people would think, oh my goodness, how could you not have everything perfect for 10 years? Well, it's never going to be perfect, to be honest. We are ever-changing people who have unsatisfied wants all of the time, which we have to rein in. And so I have taken things very, very slowly. We've taken our projects very slowly, and it's been enjoyable. It's, I don't want, and it's okay if you do. If you want to buy a house and it's completely done, you want to live in it, you just want to be done. I don't want to be done. I don't want to be that. I want to be ever changing, ever growing. I want to evolve, and it's just fun. It's just fun. And so I just thought about like the pitfalls of always jumping on fads and trends, and we just really need to be cautious. We need to be mindful. We need to be intentional with our actions and the things that we think, because what we think is going to be played out in our actions. And that's how we end up getting ourselves into trouble and filling our homes up with so much that we can't even manage. And we end up doing what I said on the podcast last week, which is living beyond our capacity. So I want to encourage you. I have 3 things that I'm going to encourage you in, is to first stop looking around and start looking at your own home. Do you feel overwhelmed in it? Do you feel like it's too much for you to manage? Then that is a sign or a way of knowing that you need to weed out. You need to declutter. You need to take some away. If every week there is a new project, and because you have looked at something on the internet, then you're going to be really overwhelmed. So you really need to focus on creating the home that you have to suit the lifestyle that you want to live. You need to focus on systems that are not necessarily trendy, but that work specifically for your family. The other thing that I want you to focus on is that simplicity creates confidence. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. I started decluttering and minimizing my home when my kids were little, probably like 2, 4, and 6 are all 2 years apart. And I got to the point where I just was picking up all of the time. And I thought, okay, I need less to manage. It's not because I looked at something and it inspired me to create a more minimal home. It's because I needed it for my own survival. So simplicity will create confidence in you, and you will have the mindset to know who you are, know what you personally need in your life, and you will be very protective of what comes into your space. And the last thing that I want you to take away is I want you to build some conviction. How you really think towards your house and the lifestyle that you want to live. And you need to start embodying that conviction instead of always following trends. You need to ask yourself, what actually works for me in my home? Ask yourself that instead of, oh, what is everyone else doing? Now, I will tell you, I have sat at the feet, literally and figuratively, sat at the feet of other women. I feel like we learn really well from other women. But when you are constantly following so many women on Facebook, on Instagram, on social media, wherever it is, it's like you're getting multiple different pieces of advice. And it's a lot to take in. I remember several years ago, I had to throw out all the parenting books. I just consumed them like they were water. And it felt very overwhelming because, yes, I consumed a lot that were similar in their teachings. It just felt a lot of information to consume. And I just do not believe that we were created to be consumers in this way, consumers of multiple information, consumers of information. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that we were meant to see in every single person's home. I believe that we are meant to visit. We are meant to visit and stay a while. And we are meant to build relationships with a handful of people. I really have a conviction about that, and I've been trying to practice the art of visiting again, and it's provided so much peace for me. And I've been able to glean off of my friends and other women where I am invited into their home physically, and I can pick their brain, and it just has provided so much peace for me. So I want you to take those away. If you feel inspired from this podcast to do anything, it's to protect what is coming in through your eyes and to have confidence in what you need personally in your home, and for you to make steps or to take steps and to do the work to provide that for yourself. And if you're interested in joining me inside the Accountability Club or working with me one-on-one, I'm inviting you to come visit with me. If you would like to join the Accountability Club, we are getting back to our coaching calls starting July 2nd. And I'm opening up the fall semester until July 12th. And then I will close the doors and we will have our little community until spring semester in January. So even if you missed tomorrow's call, or whenever you're listening to this, July 2nd's call, it's not too late. I promise you, it's not too late. You get 20 group coaching calls as well as accountability in the topic that we are covering for that month. And the month of July is all about kids. And so I hope you will consider joining me. Now, if you don't like to work in a group setting, you can work with me one-on-one, and I have both of those links in the show notes below. All right, friends, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time on the Habits and Home Show.